Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to this platform, acknowledged as Project 365. I am Portia Wheatley. I am the founder and the president of a nonprofit organization acknowledged as Trophy of Life Incorporated, where we have the opportunity and the privilege, most of all, the assignment to render hope, encouragement, and inspiration to you, our audience around the whole wide world. Let me bring in my co-host.
Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Takira Swan, and I am so happy to be here with you today. We have a great guest for you this afternoon, but before we get started, please go to our YouTube page, like, share, subscribe, so that you're a part of our team. She just said, we're trying to bring hope, encouragement, and inspiration around the whole wide world, and we cannot do it without you. So share, and let's bring some positivity into this world.
And I see, I guess, drinking some water, and that puts me in the thought of our health challenge. Can you mention something about our health challenge?
Well, we just had a health challenge where we challenged our viewers to get healthy to their very best of their abilities. And, anyone who lost, people who submitted their weight, of course, in the beginning, who lost pounds up to 25 pounds, we gave $2 per pound, and we are doing it again. We just had a winner we announced on July 16th, and now that it is July the 23rd, if you missed the first one, you can catch the second one. We're doing it again. Send your submissions to info@trophyoflife.org. Oh, I got the right email. Send your submissions with your weight, with a before picture, the weight that you're at now, standing on the scale. If it's easier, you can send a small video clip of you standing on the scale and then showing your weight as well, so we can put you in our new contest. I'm so excited for it. I'm sure we're going to have some amazing results this time.
We are. I believe that we are. And in addition to that, that $2 and for the 25 pounds, really, we did way over that. What did our winner get?
Our winner got $300 of cold hard cash, electronic, for $300 free money to spend just for getting healthy. So this is your time to win the jackpot. You never know how big this is going to get this time.
We just don't know. And before we release our guests to the platform, we want to wish a wonderful, exciting, a phenomenal birthday. Happy birthday to Eugene Short. Today is his birthday, so blow up his phone, shoot him a text, Facebook or something to let him know that we're thinking about him, and we want him to have one of the happiest birthdays that he could ever have. Well, today we have a great topic as well as a phenomenal guest to share on this particular topic, and that is the importance of investing in our young boys and young men. You wonder why many of our young people that are on the streets do what they do. And it's a whole lot of reasons, but I'm not saying that they're the right reasons, of course, but there is a whole lot to the actions of our young people. But there are people who invest in them, their time, their energy, their resources, their money, all of that. And that is something that our guest, Tigana Duncan, AKA Coach Duncan, does. And we are so grateful to God to have a man of God, not just a man, but a man of God, not just a man of God, but a role model. It's a whole lot that goes in doing this type of work for our young people. And we are so grateful to you, Coach Duncan, for accepting our invitation to come and speak on this topic. And at this moment, we're just going to give you the platform to do what you do. And before we say that, before we even release him, just know this is part one. Today is part one. I need you to get your young people, your parents of young boys, because part two is coming with some of his young people as well as his tribe and some of his teammates who help him do this type of work. So just know on tomorrow, Project 365 will also be on this particular topic of the importance of investing in our young boys and our young men. And again, Coach Duncan, you have the platform.
Thank you so much. Blessing to you. Blessings to you as well, Takira. I appreciate you and just the vision that God has given you to be on this, to create this platform and to give individuals an opportunity to share what they do. I think there were so many things that was birthed out of the pandemic. And as I see what you have been doing, this has been birthed out of the pandemic. So it is just so important to just be obedient to God and follow the vision that He has given you. So I'm so grateful for that. So who am I? My name is Tigana Duncan, known as Coach Duncan. I started a program by the name of STAND Mentorship. It's an acronym for Stepping Towards a New Destiny Mentorship, over 15 years ago. I tell people that the vision for stepping towards a new destiny was birthed out of brokenness. And they say, well, what does that mean? I said, the vision was birthed out of a broken place, but it doesn't mean that I'm still broken. I began to look at my life, and it was birthed when, at an early point in my life, when I began to recognize my brokenness, my hurt, my damage, my rejection. And one of the things that happened was at a young age, my father left, and I was in need of a father figure. And I sought that as a young man. You still look for daddy, you still look for the man. And a lot of times what I saw was poor example of men, so I remember being hurt. I remember hurting. And one of the things is I remember being in school, and I was a problem child in school. And being a problem child in school, I didn't understand it until I got old in life that my issues in life was because of my hurt and my rejection. So I tell people like this, I said, if you want to understand kids, if you want to understand the youth, you have to speak their language. Originally, I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, so I have an accent. And a lot of times people don't understand that accent. So what I do is I speak like this with an American accent or English accent, as many know it, so that they can understand what I'm saying. So you develop an ear to hear what is being said. And it's the same thing with the youth. We are raising youth in our home at times, and we are around our kids, we're around nieces, nephews, neighbors, and do have not developed an ear to hear what they are not saying, not just what they are saying, but what they're not saying through actions. So that's where stepping towards a new destiny came into play. I developed this program with the mission to bridge gaps. What gaps were we bridging? We were bridging gaps between father, son, mother, son. We're bridging gaps between ineffectiveness to highly effective, gaps between brokenness to being made whole. All of these are gaps, and we're looking for ways in order to bridge that gap. And one of the things that, not just with youth, but any individual, if you are not fully whole, if there are broken pieces to your life, there is no way that you can tell me that you are operating out of a place of effectiveness. Whether that be in your marriage, whether that be on a job, whether that be in business, whether that be in your individual life, I cannot see myself to the full extent of through the eyes of which God sees me if I am operating in my brokenness. There is something that's going to happen that's ineffective. If I have a table that's 4 legs and one of those legs is missing the bottom piece, that table is going to rock. That means that that table is not operating in the full capacity of its effectiveness. So what we're doing is we are fixing that leg so that when we move that table, it is no longer rocking. So that is our goal with the young people, to find out where they're broken and help them to know that you can be healed, and you can not just be healed, but you can be made whole where there is nothing lacking.
Oh, you can't leave us right there. It's I know it's more to stand. Keep on rolling. Just talk about how it actually helps the kids. I would imagine they come in one way, and then when they see that they can trust you, when
Uh-huh.
they see that they can depend on you. Speak to that a little bit.
consistency, commitment, and you use the word trust. You have to be consistent. You got to understand something. Through their brokenness, you develop walls. And those walls are not there intentional, but they're placed there because I want to protect myself. Because I every time I meet a young man, whether they're 6 years old to 18 to 20, to a father that's 30 years old and saying, hey, Coach Duncan, I would love for you to mentor me. I always think about the same thing. 85% of the young men that I work with are fathers. Fathers are deceased, fathers are not around, fathers are incarcerated, those sort of things. So I always remember one thing. The person that they look at that was supposed to love them the most left. So now they have placed that wall there. So now if I come and they're being tough with me, it is not that that's their goal to be tough with me, but they have to protect themselves because they trusted before. They were let down before. They would drop, and I have a tough time using this gentleman's name from the Bible, Mephibosheth or whatever it is. That was dropped. I can never get that name right. If Archbishop was here, he could say that name, just flow through it. But they would drop. So by the time we get them, they're dropped, and we're looking at their crippleness. We're looking at their flaws. We're looking at what they did not have anything to do with that was caused from them being dropped. They were not lame because they choose to be lame. And these are just things that I'm using, but that's what has happened. They have become lame from being dropped. So I have to understand that now I have to go in and recognize where they are and help them through that. Be patient with them, be committed to the process of healing, understanding that healing is a process. The healing can be instant, but it can also be a process. So understand that I've got to be committed and consistent to the process of healing. So again, sometimes those young boys are just looking for an example. They're looking for someone that they can say, you are my father figure. That man that is now old, that was not healed as a boy, has now taken a lot of his issues into manhood. So now guess what? I wasn't healed as a boy, Portia, because my daddy left me. And what happened is I feel abandoned. I'm dealing with rejection. And one of the things that I'm gonna be very vulnerable, I am 39 years old, and I did not deal with rejection until I was 37. That was 2 years ago. And it was a situation that happened that I looked in my life and said, listen, you forgave your daddy for leaving. You have built the relationship with him, but there is still rejection there. See, we can forgive because of what happened, but we need to also examine ourselves when we look. If we're still having issues trusting, maybe there's an issue with rejection. If we are still having walls up when people come around, maybe we're still dealing with some of those abandonment issues that we have to deal with. What causes us to shut down in our relationships? Why can't I communicate in relationships? It might have been because when I was young and I tried to communicate that, I was shut down. I was told to be quiet. So now I'm married. And the moment I see something that resembles my rejection, I'm going to withdraw, because again, the last abandonment hurt me badly and I can't face another abandonment. So all of these things, sometimes you have to see in these young people and work through it. And it is important for us to deal with it young, because like Frederick Douglass says, and I'm a paraphrase, if we don't deal with broken young men, they become broken adults. And we don't want broken adults, because guess what? I'm raising 2 girls. I don't want my daughters 30 years from now to marry a broken man. I don't want my 2 boys that I'm raising to be broken men. And I know it's not just men, there are women too, but I'm just addressing a men issue, that these are things that we have to deal with. And someone asked me, I was on a radio show with someone that I work with as well, from Empowered Minds of Maryland Youth. And she said, well, how do you deal with your brokenness? One of the things is that I had to learn with my brokenness was that I had to be vulnerable. And I couldn't be vulnerable with everybody, but I had to learn, who can I be vulnerable with enough that I can heal first? Because this is how I look at vulnerability. I look at it this way. I look at it as getting completely naked, taking all of your clothes off. And I don't mind taking all of my clothes off in front of somebody. But if I show you my biceps, will you say, well, why is your right bicep bigger than your left bicep? Or why would you start to judge my body in particular ways? So that's what it's like becoming vulnerable. I'm showing you my nakedness. I am becoming totally open in front of you, but you cannot judge me. You cannot criticize what I'm showing you, because I might just tell you where I am and be honest with you, but you have to understand this is how I got here. I'm willing to deal with it. The fact that somebody is willing to become vulnerable with you is saying to you that they want to deal with it. You have to protect them now because they have just removed that wall. And that's what happens again when the fathers come to me and say, Coach Duncan, this is what I'm dealing with, or a young man that just got married, or a father that's now in his 60s and say, I never dealt with these issues. This is a 60-year-old man that has become built in his ways. He has developed patterns to say, this is who I am. Now he is becoming vulnerable enough to deal with those issues. Can you understand that this is a 60-year-old man that has a lot of ego, a lot of manliness about him, but he's saying, listen, I'm willing to show my human side. I'm willing to show my vulnerable side. You've got to protect that, because now I'm showing you a side of me that is not as masculine as I was told that I need to be. So these are some of the things that when we begin to do that, and when we open up as men, don't criticize me. Don't criticize me. And I know we're here to talk about the boys, but let's talk about husbands for a minute. If the husband come to a wife and say, hey, this is my issue, he doesn't want to hear about that 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks later, because he was vulnerable enough. You cannot use my vulnerability against me in my marriage when we're fighting. You know, don't castrate me with my vulnerability from something that I had to carry already. I'm already being tortured from the rejection from my childhood, the abandonment. I'm carrying that and I don't know how to express it. And then the moment I try to express it, you know, it gets used against me. And then I'm told I don't know how to communicate. Because the last time I tried to communicate, what happened? I revisited that rejection. It looked too familiar to me. So I backed up. I backed up in my marriage. I back up with the kids. I'm backing up from everything because I cannot face this rejection once again. So, you know, these are some of the things that we have to face, we have to deal with. But again, it's just really looking at people in their vulnerability. When somebody decides to become vulnerable enough to heal, to say, whether it's before God, and that's one of the things, I'm so open with God that as God heals me, I'm able to come to people and say, listen, you know, I dealt with rejection. And my dad left, I was about 10 years old when he left. We built our relationship back over 15 years ago, great relationship. We talk and we laugh, but I still dealt with that rejection from him, from the abandonment. Because we got to understand, when one of these things come in, other spirits that are attached to it come in as well, that we have to deal with. I'm healing from him leaving. I'm healing from, but I'm still vulnerable in places. There's still issues. There's still things that I'm taking into my marriage, I'm taking into fatherhood that sometimes I need to deal with.
All right, that's an excellent response. And thank you so much for your vulnerability. That's when it really goes to the core of healing someone else as well as yourself. How is it when you meet the families of these young men? Are they given to do what you got to do, Coach Duncan, or don't touch this area, Coach Duncan?
That's funny. Sometimes I think, and I try to talk some of the parents through this. I deal with a lot of young moms. When I say young, most of them are in their 20s, raising an 8-year-old, raising a 10-year-old, 50, might be 30, raising a where they have tried what they wanted to do. So they don't know what to do. So they're saying, hey, we need a man. You know, working in the school system, one of the things that I've seen too is, and the kids always end up in my program, when I'm teaching in the classroom, I have a very tough love approach. So we get a lot of these kids that go home and complain. They go home and they complain to mom on Coach Duncan. And the story is always the same. Mom comes up to the school and they say, hey, Coach Duncan, Johnny said that you was yelling at him and you raised the voice at him, such and such and such. And I sit them down. I always sit down and I listen to everything that they have to say. And again, the story remains the same. One particular story where a parent sat down and I grabbed the curriculum. I was a math teacher at the time, third grade. I grabbed the curriculum. It was about that thick. And after she finished talking about how he says that he's not getting the work and all this stuff, I took the curriculum and I set it on the desk. I said, for the next 180 days, this is what I have to teach your son. I said, that's it. I said, they pay me to teach. That's it. I said, I can come in here every single day and teach him. And that'll be it. I said, your son came home and told you that I'm mean. I said, guess what? I watch the news every single night. How many people passed away last night? 3. How many the night before? 2. How many the night before? 4. And I was giving her these statistics. I said, I'm not mean. The streets out here are mean. I said, so when I come into this classroom and I take an opportunity to mentor your son and teach him about life and give him a little bit more, I'm not being mean. I don't want to see him on the news. I don't want to see him part of these statistics. And then, you know, the story always ends up the same. You know what, Coach Duncan, you're absolutely right. It's just me at home. He's not used to a man raising his voice at him. He's not used to a man getting up in his face when he's wrong. He's not used to a man correcting him. I said, your son is going to be all right. And they always end up in the program. And then they get so used to it. They get so used to that tough love from Coach Duncan. Like, listen, you're not going to fail. Failure is not an option. I tell him all the time. I said, you have 2 choices. You are given 2 choices. 1, to succeed, 2, to succeed. They say, huh? Well, 1 is to succeed. I said, no, failure is not an option in this life. It's an option for some people, but not you. I said, because if you was to fail, guess what happens? I fail as well. I said, so that is not even going to be an option. We're going to work hard. You're going to succeed. We're going to work through any issues. We're going to face it head on, and we're going to tackle these issues. So a lot of time it just remains the same. And then the kids love it after a while. Once they get used to a male that is consistent in their life, it becomes easy to deal with. One of the other programs that we have developed, and this year we was able to do our 4th annual father-son basketball game. Last year, pre-pandemic, we had 400 people. So imagine over 200 men from organizations like We, Our, Us, and just all of these other organizations around Baltimore coming together in the gym and saying, listen, all of these kids that the parents are deceased, incarcerated, just not around. We're going to stand with them that day and let them know that, hey, we're standing with you. You're not alone in this. This is sometimes the answer to a lot of our problems sometimes are a lot simpler than we think it is. These aren't billion-dollar questions or billion-dollar answers that we need $1 billion to answer sometimes. Sometimes it takes as simple as men getting involved in the community, men getting involved in these young men's lives to help change them. Sometimes the answer is as simple as that: get involved.
Get involved. Wow, this is so awesome. Last but not least, what is your fulfillment to your purpose? Then you can just follow up with this mental health endeavor that you're working on. I see you're in the building where you're,
Yes.
so talk to that. Talk to your
Yes.
fulfillment and then the building.
This is all purpose to me. This is all purpose. My prayer years ago, back in, I think it was about 2001, I began to pray. And, excuse me, it was simple. I said, God, send me to those that nobody wants. It was a simple prayer. I said, God, send me to the ones that nobody wants. And honestly, I thought God was going to send me to the homeless, the drug addicts, the ones in the street, because I lived in Belvedere Park Heights, the Park Heights area. So I saw that every day. And I said, God, you know, send me to the ones that nobody wants. That was honestly my heart's desire. But he didn't choose that. He chose the children. They are often overlooked. So, you know, God sent me and gave me a heart for that. So it's passion. It's not even work. I love it. I just love doing it. So out of that, we was able to birth Stand Mentorship, that you can find more information on standmentorship.org. And what you're actually looking at, I'm actually sitting in one of our space that we're actually developing right now. We're actually working on a mental health piece as well, called Empowered to Stand Health Services. So we're in the process, and we'll be launching soon. If you look, I said, I'm not even going to be home. I'm not going to be anywhere else. If you look, you can see the patches on the walls. There's holes. They're painting. They're redoing furniture. They're redoing the whole office. So this is another piece of what we want to do. We have partnered with, again, with Empowering Minds of Maryland Youth. So it's a partnership between Stepping Towards a New Destiny, Empowering Minds of Maryland Youth, and Empowered to Stand Health Services. We've all come together and said, hey, we have offered the mentorship piece. What else can we do? We're coming out of a pandemic that we were just dealing with a lot of mental health. So we're also offering the mental health, where we're having therapists on board, licensed social workers on board, a psychologist on board. All of these things is what we are bringing to our youth, but we're also adding the adult piece as well. So there's just great things that God has just really anointed us in this season with an anointed of acceleration to really move and get things done. Like I said, I'm sitting in the office right now, and contractors are walking back and forth. They've been in here just doing what God has got to do. Ministry has to be done. And one of the things that I understand is that ministry for me in this season is not going to be behind the pulpit. It doesn't mean that God is not going to give me the mic behind the pulpit, but I love community work. I think my heart is behind community work, and my family supports it. My family supports the community work. And sidebar, but still includes my son, my oldest son, Daryl, which you know. He said to me the other day, he said, Dad, I watched you in the community for years with what you're doing. He said, you don't know this, but this is why I'm in school, to be a licensed social worker. I said, wow, that brought tears to my eyes. So when the family sees your love for them, but it translates into the community as well, they're involved. Jeremiah, my youngest boy, when I'm out with the kids, he's there. Daryl was the same thing. Tomorrow on the show, we'll actually get an opportunity to talk with some are college graduates, some are in the Air Force, some are just working individuals now that have gone through this program from since elementary school. So it's just an exciting time, and God gets all the glory out of this. I'm really grateful for just the opportunity. When I look at what God is doing, I'm just wowed by who He has called me to be, what He has made me to be, and where He's taken me. To Him be all the glory in all of this.
Well, I think that's amazing. And isn't it so awesome to see things just fall into place when you're walking into your purpose and being who you're supposed to be? And honestly, I think that's the best way to be an example or a mentor to someone, is, just being who you were supposed to be. And that's just how you change lives, when you are doing things the right way and coming from an authentic place and being transparent.
Exactly.
You're changing lives already, because you don't even realize you're changing, not just the ones that are in your program, the ones that you've been teaching, but people who watch you. Because it's one thing I know, everyone watches everybody, but especially young people. They'll watch you and not say anything, but they'll take notes, whether it's good or bad, So I'm very grateful for you and your program, and just your mission, your purpose, your passions. Like, this is something that's so needed in our society today. It really, really is. You've given, I don't know if you realize this, but you've given so many good, like, golden nuggets, not just pertaining to youth, but to people in general, especially, our young men. And let me tell you, I don't know if you watch Iyanla Fix Your Life every now and then, but you've given quite a few nuggets on Iyanla moments of just becoming a better person and being whole and who you're supposed to be. And one of those things that you said was when healing is a process, but being consistent and having commitment and trust. Something so simple, consistency, commitment, and
Right.
trust of how to change the lives of our young men. That's something that simple. And even something that simple, it's a little hard if you're not coming from the right place. Being consistent,
Exactly.
having that commitment, and then developing that trust. It doesn't take much. And you don't have to be perfect, but you just have to be authentic and genuine, which is what I really like and value of what you've said today. And also, you were saying, you have to develop an ear to hear. 90% of communication is nonverbal, and you have to look at what are they saying that they're not saying. If
Right.
we would just pay attention to what our young men are saying without, actually saying something, they're telling you what they need, they're telling you what they want, what they don't like, some of the places that they're hurting, but we just have to be keen to that and pay attention. And lastly, maybe not lastly, but lastly, having something being birthed out of a broken place.
Mhm.
That right there is what you're doing. That right there is so, so beautiful. And that is how we can break generational curses, getting that residue of that hurt, that shame, that being vulnerable and someone shutting you down, that abandonment. That right there is what we need. And I'm just so grateful that you have taken the time to deal with those who, like you said, what did you say? You said you wanted to be with the ones who were unwanted, and you thought it was like homeless people and things like that. Well, it's a shame, but our society today, we deal with having men who are unwanted, and those are, you got exactly what you asked for. You asked for the Lord to send you to someone who is unwanted, and unfortunately, that's what our men have been going through. And I'm just so grateful of your program and your heart, because that's what we need right today. We need that today. So I am so, so, so grateful. Let me look at my
Absolutely.
little notes here. I think that's it. I think that's it. I think that's it.
That's it. Because he did say a whole lot of great information. He shared a whole lot of great information. And that is just on part one. Audience, please, please, please share this video with anyone you know that has young men that maybe their father is not there in their lives, or maybe their fathers are there and they really can't give them some type of direction or leadership, or they just want to complement what they've already instilled in their children. So either way, whether they're troubled children or, just young boys at large, I ask you to share this with the parent. Many of the young people themselves have a Facebook page, so share it with them. But I do want you to know tomorrow it will be part two, and Tigana, Coach Duncan will be our host on tomorrow. He will have more information to share, more gold nuggets to share, and more of his tribe to share, to give us some information on how we can help support Stan. Did I get that right? It's Stan?
We can be found at standmentorship.org. You can find us at Stand Mentorship on Facebook. That's STAND on Facebook, and on Instagram, it is _Stand Mentorship.
And Coach Duncan, if you don't mind, for those that may not have caught it just that quick, email it to me, and we will make sure it gets into the comment section so that they can go back and review it. And anyone who does not see it now or today, they can see it tomorrow. This is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel. If they don't see it today, they can see it tomorrow, next week, next year, whenever. It is great information, and it is out here to the world now to see what can be done. And matter of fact, you never know if God will grow it to another state, because we have presence in other states and even out of the country. We shall see what God will do with this. Okay. Amen. So again, We're going to leave you for today, but just know that Coach Duncan will be back tomorrow for part 2, and we shall see you at 1 p.m. on tomorrow. Blessings, and thanks again, Coach Duncan.
Thank you.